Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Okay, let's look at politics going on in Anambra State, by which I mean that, now INEC has released the personal details of all the contestants in the election. And, we spoke, I think, some time ago, we spoke with Mazi Ejimofo, National Publicity Secretary of APGA. And it's our pleasure to be able to touch base with him again. A fine morning to you, Mazi Ejimofo Apara.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much, sir.
Meeting you once again and being here with you.
Indeed. At the last time we spoke, of course, you know, we hadn't got to this stage. Now INEC has released the personal details of all the contestants, and 16 parties will be contesting for that election. Is that a worrisome prospect?
Thank you once again, Okiori, and viewers at home. I've always told you that what is worth doing well, and it's a contest.
Yes.
However we want to see it, it's a contest, and it is a constitutional right of whoever is eligible to contest to throw in his hat into the ring and contest. So, and for me, I believe it's the more the merrier. The people have from, a vast array of persons to choose from, and everybody will be going to the polls on the merit of, their antecedents, their capacity to deliver, and the promises that they have or they will be making to the people. It's a very interesting process, and something that I believe every other person in the country is looking forward to. I have my, my own personal choice, and of course, beyond my choice, we also have feelers of what the people's choice is at the, at this material time. So that it's not for me to decide. At the end of the day, like they would say, the people will decide, the ballot will decide who takes up Anambra in the next 4 years.
Now, I think now that you've hosted the president, and when you look at the sentiments from both gentlemen, Governor Soludo, who was the host, and indeed the president itself, how is this seen? What is the political significance of this? Really.
Okay, the president's visit happens to be, the first after so many years, to the state. It was a state visit. He was invited, to come commission some very groundbreaking and historic projects, executed by the current administration of Professor Soludo. And for us, it bears multidimensional significance, from either the historical point of view, or maybe the ideological point of view, or maybe the strategic point of view. But across this three spectrum of significance, I believe it recorded over 100%, success and rate. And for us as a party, we are happy that particular visit has announced unequivocally, what we've been saying, long before now, that the progressives are working together. And we are very happy that Mr. President came and affirmed to the very groundbreaking achievements of the government in Anambra State, and we are proud of that. We are also happy that it was rancor-free. It came, and in Anambra, in their numbers, trooped out en masse, to welcome the president. This puts to rest a whole lot of, arguments and conversations about whether Anambra is at the center or not going to the center. It puts to rest those kinds of arguments, because the president, by that, very move, has proven, to Nigerians that he is the president of Nigeria, and of course, he is a lover of, good governance. And that visit, for us, will continue to resonate beyond even now. It's beyond the politics. For me as a person, it's beyond the politics. It's about, recognizing that our diversity should be a source of prosperity and not adversity in any way. So it further accentuates the fact that Nigeria, irrespective of our diversity, we can find a common ground to actually work together for the good of the people. And wherever that is the case, you would see ABGA there. And I'm happy to also announce here again that the progressives are truly and indeed, working together.
Indeed. And, actually, some interpretations, some people, the way they interpreted it was that Governor Soludo had actually endorsed the president. But then we spoke about this aspect the last time we spoke, that, look, Anambra, wanting to be centrist, was always going to identify with progressives. So did you see anything untoward in that? Because some people have actually been talking about it.
Well, what Governor Soludo said on that, on the day of that state visit was quite clear, and of course, it's he didn't say anything that is new, really, with regards to this centrist, stance. Everybody who knows Soludo understands, his ideology in terms of the Nigerian polity is not one that you can be amiss about. It's something that is very clear and straight to the point. He's a federalist, he said that day, and he's a centrist. But beyond that, there is a policy within the party, ABGA, that, makes the party or encourages the party to always work with the party at the center. And we actually have done this in the past, and the records are there. We have done this with parties that you may define as not being, progressives, And now that we have a progressive party, we are bold to say that that policy has not changed. And that was exactly what, Mr. Governor, said on that day. And there's anyone who is arguing that is only maybe trying to be deviously political, because ABGA has never, hidden the fact that it must align, or it has to align with the party at the center, especially where the core ideological, cleavages or the core ideological stance of that party aligns with the ideology of ABGA. And we have said that in ABGA we believe in progressivism. And by that we mean that the welfare of the people comes paramount. They become, they are very paramount in any of our political decisions or any, consideration we want to make with regards to our governance style, our manifesto and all that. The people must come first. And that is why in ensuring the welfare of the people, we take certain, pillars of development quite seriously, from education to health to infrastructure, to the day-to-day economics of the communities and society, very seriously. And that is why in a state like Anambra, for instance, we have actually come up with very significant policies with regards to education. I mentioned it here when I came earlier that in Anambra today, the people enjoy free and qualitative education. And I emphasize that word free, and we mean free, totally free and quality education. I said that the last time I was here. I mentioned the last time I was here also that in Anambra today, pregnant women do not pay a dime, to attend their antenatal session classes, and they don't pay a dime upon delivery in all public hospitals across the state. And I gave some data as to how many persons have, enjoyed that benefit and how it has significantly affected, our mortality, our maternal health in the period under review. And are you surprised that today in Nigeria, Anambra happens to be the #1 state when it has to do with primary healthcare development, and #1 also in the entire Southeast? So these are part of the very progressive policies that affect the welfare of the people that we as a party do not take, for granted. So, and if you extend it to, to probably what we are doing in regards to infrastructure, Mr. President came himself, and we didn't even invite him to come commission the number of roads that Mr. Governor has flagged off and completed in the state. Last time I came here, I was mentioning about 754 kilometers. As of today, it's over 800 kilometers, with about 600 kilometers completed and awaiting commissioning. No, we didn't want to bother Mr. President with such projects that maybe become taken for granted in some quarters. But the main significance of that visit was for him to come, see the beginning of a new Anambra. Because when Mr. Governor talks about Anambra being a destination rather than a departure lounge, you look at today, he has built and commissioned, and the president has commissioned the largest international standard leisure, park in West Africa. And that tells you that people can now come into Anambra and not just live in Anambra and go out there maybe for leisure and for enjoyment and all that. Anambra is now a place where you can actually do business, commerce can thrive, people can live, people can learn, and people can also enjoy, relax, and feel like humans. Now, many people didn't believe it when we said that in the last 34 years, Anambra's government seat has existed in a makeshift environment. As a matter of fact, the construction yard of the company that built the Enugu-Onitsha Express, over 34 years without the government, since the inception of the state. But today, we have a 28-hectare, eco-friendly, smart government mini city, where you have over 56 buildings, housed in that facility. So we invited, like Mr. Governor said, we invited the man who tamed the Atlantic in Lagos to come, meet the man who has broken the jinx, that 4-year-old jinx of Anambra existing without a befitting governor's lodge and a government house. So that for us is the core of, giving the people a sense of who they are. So, and there was no better way to celebrate it than inviting the totality of the country to come say, see, we have won this, we have achieved this, and it is worth celebrating. So I agree with Mr. President when he said, indeed, that Anambra is on the rise. And we believe that Anambra is on the rise. Anybody who comes to Anambra today would see that there's a clear point of departure from what existed and what is currently on ground. And that is what ABGA is proud of. And we believe that these changes don't come easy, just as we have them happening currently in the country. You can't, how do they say that if you want to eat omelets, then you must be ready to break eggs. And that is where we actually align with some of the very radical policy, changes of the, renewed hope administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Because we know that these changes must actually occur if indeed we want to make headway as a country. Is it the floating of the dollar, or is it the removal of the fuel subsidy, and even the tax reform bill that is still in the pipeline? These are some very radical but important, decisions that we must make as a country if we really want to come out of our economic, doldrums. And that is what we represent as ABGA. We believe that the people must come first, but in putting the people first, you must also ensure that their welfare is not jeopardized.
Were you then surprised, or maybe you put it down to politicking, when a commentary came out of Anambra that never mind the ruling party and indeed the governor himself, that a lot of the projects that President Tinubu was invited to come and launch, they were actually well, you've used the word once, makeshift, that things were spruced up, painted up, and passed off as new. Is this political rivalry? Because I'm sure you would have heard things in that line.
Okay, well, the taste of the pudding is in the eating, and you can only tell a blind man that there is no oil in the soup, but not about salt, because he tastes it. So anyone who is making allegations or making comments as to the authenticity or the how do I put it now, as to the claims, or will I say the reality of Anambra not having a government house or a befitting governor's lodge, or the Fun City being the first of its kind, and many other groundbreaking projects are, like I define them as never before seen projects of Governor Soludo, then the person should actually show proof. Because there's this common saying in statistics that we believe in God, but every person must show data. So if you're making any comment, then let it be evidence-based. If you're saying that the government house that was commissioned by Mr. President was not existed before now, and it was merely painted, like some persons, the APC, the APC Vice Chairman Southeast said when he appeared on your program, that's talking about Ijoma Arodiobu. I listened to him and I shuddered as to how a man of such standing and of such age would come on national TV and come tell blatant lies and unfounded stories. I show that, it speaks to the quality of his person and the kind of individual that he is and the kind of mindset he brings to the politics of even Imo State. It's quite alarming. You are making claims that you cannot verify. It's so beneath him, and I believe that he would one day come to Anambra, and I would personally take him on a tour of these facilities. And I also put it, and I also want to challenge him that if he has any proof, otherwise, that those buildings were just merely painted and they never existed, he should provide them. We were talking about a desolate and almost empty space that was from the scratch built within 3 years to world-class standard, and today that everyone is proud of. And somebody is coming to tell you about makeshift and not painted. Well, I've just told you that it speaks to the quality of their person and the kind of politics they want to mainstream. And the Anambra are quite aware, and they know what is true from what is not. So I don't take it away from politicking, but I call it devious politicking, because that you're playing politics does not actually mean you should be without character, or that you should tell open lies. No, the true progressive politics is, I see that Mr. A is doing well, I commend, and maybe provide a redirection as to how it can be done better. That is true progressive politics. You don't just come up and all you see are the negative, seeing the glass as half empty at every point in time, and you expect that you would make any progress. No, you can't. So for me, if you must play this politics, then play it in the progressive style. When you see what is right, commend it. When you see how it can be done better, say it. When you see what is wrong, say it. And don't just say it. Also go ahead to provide solutions. So that way it will help to build our political landscape and make it a bit more sophisticated, so that we don't just have all sorts of people coming to just say things that they cannot substantiate.
Okay. So
it's a fact that a jinx has been broken and history has been made, and that Anambra is on the rise.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Mazi Ejimofo Opara, we'll take a quick break now. Do please stay with us. This is Mazi Ejimofo Opara, National Publicity Secretary of APGA. Mazi, you seem to have, what's happening? You seem to have changed up a bit, different from the first half of the program. You're now sporting a jacket. Okay,
well, I think the cold down there is a bit freezing. So I started to just, cover up to avoid the stories that touch the heart.
All right, then. It's all good, I suppose, but just for the continuity, we're wondering, are we cutting two different sessions together? No, we are not. It is that Mazi decided to.
It's a bit chilly down here, so I have to just cover up.
Okay, then. All right, that's all good. So we were speaking. Maybe we could go over again, because you even touched on it. You touched on some of it. There are 16 people, and you have said that, well, the more the merrier, because it is a contest. And of course, some, well, shall I say political, I don't know, adversaries is not the word, but there will be opponents, and they have been, making some statements that you have sort of debunked. In fact, I think I was reading that the governor held his first meeting in the newly inaugurated, State House building. Right?
Yeah, sure. On Monday, today's Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So just about 2 days ago on Monday, the Anambra State Executive Council meeting
held there,
named ANSEC. The 8th Anambra State Executive Council meeting for year 2025. Held at the new government house.
Now, perhaps we can look at preparations for the election, because even though you had indicated that we were quite ready the last time, but now it's getting closer, isn't it? It's getting closer and closer to the day. So I thought this might be as fine a time as any to sort of talk about the programs of the Soludo administration. And those that, because, we didn't have all the time the last time around. I think we spoke about security a bit, but did we, we didn't touch on agriculture, which is very, very important. Infrastructure, those are the things that I think we can talk about a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, basically, thank you, Uncle Yori, and of course, I would continue to, maintain. The last time I came, I said we were ready, but maybe I should say today we are readier. And I would also make bold to say that if that election was to hold today, that ABGA would win by a landslide. I mentioned the last time I came that in Anambra, that ABGA is more or less a religion. So the people here have this sentimental attachment to ABGA, not for any other reason beyond the fact that they have seen, felt, and tasted through dividends of democracy, through the very robust manifesto of ABGA. So it's not a love that is born out of nothing. It's a love that is born out of many years of proven, evidence of progressive development. And it has become even more deepened by the, 3-year run, in less than 3 years, that the current administration has broken jinxes and has taken it notches above the expectations of the people. So you speaking about some of the the core achievements of this Soludo administration with regards to agriculture. I mentioned probably just in passing that the Soludo administration in agriculture has started what you may term the coconut and palm revolution, and more or less like a rehash of the Michael Opera palm revolution in the 60s and 70s and all that. So but this time around it's a bit more more micro, more direct, more targeted, to solving the problem of household poverty, that can be that can be seen in some parts of the state. So by this we mean that the state government has distributed over 2 million improved seedlings, of both palm and coconut, to over 240,000 households, in the state. So I'll say over 200,000 households in the state. So here we have a household averagely getting about 10 of these improved seedlings, and the projection is that if this improved palm and coconut, begin to fruit, it is capable from its produce alone to lift an average household out of endemic poverty. You and I know what the palm miracle of Malaysia is today, and how that has changed the economic trajectory of Malaysia. And of course, sooner than you think, Anambra will become, will begin to inch towards, Malaysia, if not surpass the Malaysian story, because we are beginning to get some kind of success stories, because 2 batches of that of this program has actually been done, So, and we're monitoring and seeing some bit of success stories that has begun to emerge, from it. So but it's a work in progress, and it's something that would live, with these people, with these households, and they're assessing this at no, cost on them. Plus the fact that there are extension services from the Ministry of Agriculture to these various households, who come in some kind of cluster, and they get these extension services from the State Ministry of Agriculture. Beyond the palm and coconut, there's also this very intentional investment in saving some of our staple crops that are going to go on extinction. Crops like the okwa. There is no. I don't know if I say this, I would be wrong, but there is no party, down east without okwa. So if okwa and yam happen to be like okwa is like the food of royalty down here. So if you go to any party and you're served okwa in Anambra or in the southeast, then of course that is the party. It's priced above jollof rice. So okwa as a staple, fruit is almost going on extinction, and there has been this intentional investment in ensuring that does not happen. So part of the agricultural drive of this government is to also provide improved seedlings of this okwa. We talk about ojibo, that's the cola nut and all that, the aquino, that's the pita cola, a lot of them, the improved pawpaw, pineapples and all that. So some of these staple fruits that are beginning to, get scarce around us here, the government is making very intentional investments in ensuring that they survive and, are also experienced and enjoyed by generations unborn. So these are some of the, agricultural drive of this government that is geared towards empowering the people and ensuring that Anambra, becomes one of the states with very massive success stories in terms of agriculture.
Mazi, let me return to the point you made about we're talking about education and then health. In the case of education especially, you said that it would be free of cost, free education, if I heard you right and if I got you right. Well, in these times, that is, quite frankly, there are those who say that's stupendous because people say there's no such thing as a free lunch, and that even when things are said to be free, somebody is paying. It's just that maybe the immediate beneficiary might not be paying. So against those kind of understandings, how is Anambra able to, how is it going to work this, even though one is aware that Professor Soludo is a financial guru, in fact, so much so that he's actually hit the apex of the finance world, having been former governor of central bank. So how is this going to work in these austere times?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I said by the last budget analysis, in terms of the state of states, Anambra ranked, top 5, if not number 1, on fiscal responsibility.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, the first caller has come in. Good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to Dr. Okpara. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Uncle Yori, given what we saw when the president visited Anambra State recently, and also the sentiments on ground in Anambra State, it is predictable who is going to win that election of November in Anambra State. What bothers me, Uncle Yori, in the whole process is the number of political parties that are contesting that election.
16.
16. When you, even in Lagos here, when you go to vote, you see that not more than 3 parties have agents at the polling booths. And at the end of the day, in a governorship election where more than 500,000 votes were cast, you see parties that did not even score at all. Some scored 10. Then you begin to ask yourself, what about the members of the party itself in that state? So I don't know whether INEC gives them money for participating, whether it is just that money that they are after. I understand that INEC is in the process of proposing reforms to electoral reforms. I want to suggest to them that they should stop wasting stationery on parties that are not serious. If you register a party and for 2 years they are not able to win a councillorship seat, they should not be qualified to contest for the next local government elections. Anyone that has not won a local government after 2 years should not be allowed to participate in governorship elections, and so on and so forth. So as to sanitize the system, instead of just wasting funds, wasting time of people, wasting stationery, and wasting the time of people who go and queue up at the polling booth. What I'm saying now, Uncle Yoro, when the result is declared that day, take a look at it and see the score sheet. You see that out of that 16 political parties, only 1 or 2, at best 3, will get the votes. So why are we wasting time on those things? Let us reform the system for better results and efficiency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know, Mazi Okpara, I think there was a freeze. Yeah. Are you back with us? Okay. Did you hear that caller?
Yes, sure, I am.
Okay. Okay. You heard the views of that caller.
This is one of the, well, this is one of the downsides of a multi-party system, thing that we operate down here. You see the ballot box, the ballot paper as long as River Nile, and at the end of the day, you realize that some of these parties not even have a footing at the polling booth level, let alone the ward level or local government level and all that. We have much of it in Anambra here. Even some of them that go about claiming to be, wanting to connect Anambra to the center. If you called maybe their candidate, for instance, and asked him to show you the result of his polling unit in the last general elections and what his party garnered at his polling unit, you may be sure that he himself didn't even vote for his party at his polling unit. It tells you, how on ground, how much of, of what they say they can do, they have been able to do in the past. So, but I agree maybe in principle with the last caller that we need to actually rejig this political party system, and so we can actually sieve out the weeds from the chaff. So
well,
I agree to a large extent with his.
Yes, that is to one side.
But I wanted to actually conclude my thoughts on the.
Yes, please.
Anambra.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I talked about the magic is simply that Governor Soludo has, run a fiscally responsible administration. In his words, he has cut all cuttables. So anything that does not, before you spend a penny of taxpayers' money, you ask yourself, if these were to be my own personal money, will I spend it in this way? If you listen to Governor Soludo, he says this more often than not, and this has guided his spending and execution of both the budget and the resources of the state. So it is from this, will I say, economic wizardry that has been able to squeeze water out of the rock, to provide, what you may call a new welfarist, system of governance for the people of Anambra State. And that is what you see with the free education. That's what you see with the free antenatal and free delivery, for pregnant women. That's what you see with the very never before seen rapid infrastructural development across the nooks and crannies of the state. That's what you see with the palm and coconut revolution that is happening in the state. And I didn't mention when I was talking about agric that during the last infamous hunger strike, when some person said they were going on hunger strike, across the state, across the country, Anambra youth came in. Every prize that is to be carted away in the country, both nationally, every prize that is to be carted away in the country, both nationally and regionally, Anambra has carted them. Yeah, regionally, Anambra has carted them with regards to information and communication technology. Is it in the deployment of technology? Is it in the deployment of it in governance, or is it in the deployment of it in governance, or is it in its penetration across various parts of or dance penetration across various parts of
or dancing or maneuver or just looking or dancing or maneuver or just looking makusara in Nigerian politics or maneuver or just looking makusara in Nigerian politics. Money and power. Kusara in Nigerian politics. Money and power. But the thing is this. It's money and power. But the thing is this. In as much as everybody, but the thing is this. In as much as everybody eyes are now on the, Anambra election. The eyes are now on the Anambra election. Looking at defection Anambra election. Looking at defection factor, defection tsunami, defection in Anambra, as long as you have your defection tsunami, defection in Anambra, as long as you have your Anambra, please come Anambra, please come or go out, please come or go out and vote. Not to say and vote, not to say previous one you have been voting. No. You cannot sit down at home and start.
Anything to add or any? He's saying that people should.
Well, if I got him clearly, of course, he's talking about where I may not be able to agree totally with. What does the APC stand for? They may not be able to tell you in one clear. What does the APC stand for? They may not be able to tell you in one clear sentence. So these are the things that we need to actually correct in our political party development as a country and in our journey towards deepening the democratic development as a country and in our journey towards deepening the democratic experience. Parties, but it's only fair to say that if you believe but it's only fair to say that if you believe in something, seek out for like minds. By the very definition of political party, you would realize seek out for like minds. By the very definition of political party, you would realize that we are doing it in the reverse. So if we are doing it in the true essence, you go to the US, the Republicans and the Democrats, they have their ideologies that where they differ. But the common goal is the good of the American people. So that is exactly where all political parties should be united.
Leave it. Thank you very much, Mazi Ejimofo Kwara, for coming, on Mazi Ejimofo Kwara, for coming, on